Although I really dislike, maybe even hate the Starfighter that we'll be talking about in today's video, if this video gets 100,000 views, let's say, I'll get a beautiful model made up just like I did for the E-Wing. With that being said, roll the intro. Alright, before we begin, today's video is brought to you by my friends over at Vite Ramen, who are releasing their version 3.0 flavors. I know you guys might be wondering, heck, didn't they just have version 1.2? Where's version 2? Listen, it was such a big change, they went right to 3.0, and I can't blame them. I've been testing some of these flavors. Let me just tell you that they are amazing. You guys probably already know about Vite Ramen, but if you don't, they're a really easy way to eat healthy and live an ordinary life. Compared to other ramen, it's low in sodium, it's got lots of bioavailable nutrients, and of course, it's still delicious. As I mentioned at the beginning, version 3.0 of Vite Ramen has dropped. I'll put the patch notes down in the description. There you can get a full look at what's changed and everything that goes into making Vite Ramen noodles and flavors. I've also got a brand new Eckhart's Ladder landing page for Vite Ramen. I've got something very special in the works as well, but follow that link and you can get free chopsticks, spoons, and a sticker. Plus, use code Eckhart's for 10% off. You'll be helping not only a great company out, but also me. Anyway, on with the content. Hey guys, this is Eckhart's Ladder. Hello and welcome to another video. Today we are talking about what I think is one of the ugliest starfighters in the Star Wars universe. Sometimes when you say ugly in Starfighter, you think of things like the TIE Wing, basically starfighters made out of different parts. That's not what I'm talking about today. I'm talking about a starfighter that I just think is ugly. Now, maybe this thing could fit into some universes, but for Star Wars, it just looks very strange, and I'm talking specifically about the Defender. I just want to rip on this thing for a little bit, and then I'll talk about the actual lore behind this shit, because I do think that is somewhat interesting. My biggest problem with the Defender is those two little arms that just sort of hang down in front of the ship. It looks either like it's some sort of cargo vessel, or that it's got some vestigial limbs that don't work anymore, so just sort of hang loosely at its side. I think there are some fighter types that this could work on, but the problem with the Defender is that the overall design is just kind of boring. It looks like a toy, which makes sense because a ship similar to this, that this was actually based on, was released as a toy, but it lacks a lot of the things that make the best starfighters, especially New Republic or Rebel starfighters, look good. Now, maybe you disagree with me. I mean, I famously like the E-Wing. I had a whole animation of the ship made up. I know a lot of you guys don't like that, but for me, a starfighter in Star Wars should look like it's designed for atmosphere. Does that make sense from a lore perspective? Maybe not, but aesthetically, I think that's what you should go for. Star Wars is based off of sort of World War II dogfighting. The arms on this make it look slow and unwieldy, and the rest of the body frame is relatively diminutive. It also kind of sucks because this vessel is often tied to the New Class Modernization Project, which produced some ships that I really love the design of, notably the Nebula Star Destroyer and the Endurance class fleet carrier. We'll talk about some in-universe rationale here, and the basic idea was that the New Republic wanted to create their own version of the Imperial Star Destroyer, but something more practical, smaller, and just generally more efficient. Early stages of the New Republic's naval modernization resulted seemingly only in the Defender class starfighter, which we've been talking about for this video, but the much larger stage of new ship launches came through the New Class program, which introduced everything from the Republic Star Destroyer to, as I mentioned, the Nebula, the Endurance, and other ships of varying class and size. Since they shared a sort of common design lineage and they were among the New Republic's newest starfighters, when the 5th Fleet was created and when new class ships were rolling out of the shipyards, they were often given Defender class starfighters as part of their starfighter complement, which were sometimes paired with the much better E-Wing, in my opinion, and of course the K-Wing heavy bomber. The Essential Guide to Warfare confirms this pairing and explains that the Defender starfighter, which was already in service, was actually a souped-up version of an old Incom design used for short-range planetary defense. So that's where this ugly and dumb-looking ship fit within the Navy of the New Republic among its coolest and best-performing vessels, but what about the ship's actual lore itself? Well, in universe, the Defender wasn't actually a bad fighter. It was definitely, in my opinion, cheaper and overall worse than something like an E-Wing or even the modern X-Wings. But let's break it down, and surprisingly, a lot of the Defender's information does not come Kraken's threat dossier, but rather the Dark Strider campaign guide, and that's because the Far Star, which is the New Republic CR-90 Corvette, heavily modified CR-90 Corvette, carried Defenders. And also, before we continue, I just want to show this picture, which is alongside the stats. It shows how even when it's in atmospheric configuration mode when the arms are in, it looks more like the Phantom, the shuttle for the Ghost in Star Wars Rebels, than a proper starfighter. Anyway, according to the RPG guide, the Defender was designed as a lightweight, compact starfighter meant specifically for short-range duties. It of course has no hyperdrive, again, short-range duties, and is thus carried by a Star Destroyer or other spaceship into battle. Continuing, and now with a direct quote, "The Defender is much slower than modern fighters like the A-Wing, but it is a vast improvement over older fighters like the Y-Wing and the Z-95 Headhunter. Those two struts actually have maneuvering jets which can allow the Defender to pull off some apparently fairly crazy maneuvering in the middle of battle." And again, I think that also contributes to why this ship is so weird. Star Wars ships can maneuver in ways that their engine layouts typically would just not allow. So to have this thing which has a dedicated thruster away from the body of the ship to do these crazy 180s and whatever else is just weird from a visual design standpoint. Overall, the Defender Starfighter has 3 laser cannons, one on each side of the body as well as one at the nose. It has shielding, and it also has room for a dedicated gunner. Alright, so we've got a strange starfighter here, and again, I don't actually think that this is the worst fighter ever. It was definitely a cheaper ship that the New Republic used to supplement its more expensive fighters like the X-Wing in specific roles. Again, this thing was meant for short range duty, so for protecting capital ships, especially as an escort for ships not meant to see direct combat in the heat of battle, that probably makes sense. I do think, however, that this thing could really struggle in a major battle. For one, the lack of missiles or torpedoes not only means that it can't work in any sort of flex role against capital ships, but we also see missiles especially used often against other starfighters. Compared with this thing's slow speed, I could see it being somewhat of a sitting duck on the battlefield. This thing will want to stay as close as possible to its mothership and really just perform some basic screening duties while better starfighters are out doing other things. But that's all I really have for today. What do you think of the Defender? Am I being too critical of this fighter? It's definitely a very niche Star Wars Legends starfighter, so it's not like it's one I hate that shows up everywhere. It's just something I really personally don't like very much. But until next time, guys, have a good one, be safe, and may the Force be with you.